Hi everybody, and welcome back to another video. In this video I'm going to show you how to work the treble crochet stitch, which is probably the second stitch that you would learn in your crochet journey. Just to let people know, I use UK terms. That's the names that are given to the stitches. Also, there are American terms that are very similar to UK terms, but they are describing different stitches. So for example, last time I showed you how to work the double crochet stitch. In America, or if people use the US terms, that stitch is called the single crochet. For this stitch, I'm showing you how to work the treble crochet, and if you're using US terms, that's called the double crochet. So that's basically the difference between the two, but I just want to highlight that fact. All of my stitches I use the UK terms. So if you're all ready, grab your hook, grab your yarn, grab a cuppa, and let's get started. So this is our treble crochet stitch that we are going to make today. As you can see, it's a little bit more open than our double crochet stitch. This is the double crochet stitch that we made the last time, okay, and it's a tighter made fabric. It's more closed in than the treble crochet. Also, if you notice, the treble crochet stitches are a bit longer than your double crochet stitches. So to begin, we'll make our slip knot, and we're going to do a chain of 15. So your slip knot again is wrap your yarn around your two fingers, cross one over the other, put your hook underneath one, grabbing the other, give it a little twist, take your fingers out and pull your two ends down. And if you have a long loop like I have on my hook, you want to tighten that up by pulling on the working yarn. So from there, I think I said we're going to do a chain of 15. So I'll start off, I'll pause, and then you continue until you have your 15. So your chains are just wrap your yarn around your hook and pull through. That's 2, that's 3, and continue on until you have 15 chains made. So now you've all worked your chain of 15. If you remember, in the last video I mentioned about the turning chain, and your turning chain for the double crochet was just one chain, but for our treble crochet it's 2 chains, so we have to work another 2. 1 and 2. Now we are ready to start our stitches. Like before, our turning chain is 2 chains, so we don't work into those 2 chains, so you're skipping 1, 2, and you're going to start working into the 3rd chain from your hook. You're going to wrap your yarn around your hook, and you're going to go into the top loop. You wrap your yarn around your hook again and pull it through. And there you can see you have 3 loops on your crochet hook. Wrap your yarn around again, and you're going to pull it through just the first 2, and wrap your yarn around again and pull it through the last 2. And that's your first treble crochet stitch made. So we're going to move to the next chain, which is this one here. Again, we're going to wrap the yarn around your hook, push it through your chain, wrap your yarn around your hook and pull it through. Wrap your yarn around again and pull it through 2. And for the last time, wrap your yarn around again and pull it through the last 2 on your hook. And that's your second one done. Again, wrap your yarn around your hook and you're going to go into the next chain. Okay, wrap your yarn around again and pull it through. Wrap your yarn around again and pull it through 2. And wrap your yarn again and pull it through the last 2 on your hook. And you're going to continue on down until you get to the end of your chain. So please pause the video and continue on working in that fashion. So I'm just down now to the last stitch here. Wrap your yarn around your hook, push it through the last stitch, wrap your yarn and pull it through, wrap your yarn around and pull it through 2, and wrap your yarn around and pull it through the last 2 on your hook. And that is your first row of treble crochet stitches done. So I'm just going to check and make sure that I have my 15. I'm going to turn it so you can see all the V's going across, and I'm going to count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and that's the first one that we worked, which is number 15. So to continue to our next row, again we have to do a turning chain. As I said at the beginning of the video, the turning chain is 2 chain for the treble crochet. So you work 2 chain and turn your work. I always turn my work like a page of a book, so it's going from right to left. And you're going to, the second row is always a little bit easier to see exactly where you're going. So wrap your yarn around your hook and you're just going to push it in there. And as I explained to you, on this row we're going to catch the 2 sides of the stitch. Okay. On your foundation row you only catch one side of the chain. Okay, and you pull it through, wrap your yarn around again and pull it through 2. Okay, I missed that bit. And wrap your yarn again and pull it through the next 2. Yarn around your hook, go to your next stitch. Wrap your yarn around and pull it through. Wrap your yarn around again and pull it through that next 2. Wrap your yarn around again and pull it through the last 2 stitches on your hook. Wrap your yarn again around your hook, push it in underneath the stitch. Wrap your yarn around your hook and pull it through. Wrap your yarn around your hook and pull it through the next 2. Wrap your yarn around again and pull it through the last 2 stitches on your hook. And you're going to continue on the whole way down to the end of your row. And make sure you have 15 treble crochets worked before you turn your row. In crochet there's an awful lot of counting, but it's the best way to make sure you're working your pattern correctly. However, crochet is a little more forgiving if you go a little bit wrong than knitting. If you go wrong in knitting, it just throws everything out. Whereas crochet, well, which is what I have found, you can fix a mistake without having to rip too much back, if at all. So I'm continuing on down the row. So if you want to pause the video now and continue working your trebles all the way down to the end of the row. Okay, so I'm just down at the end of the row and this is my last stitch here. Sometimes this stitch can be a little bit difficult to get into. Okay, but take your time and you can work it. And that's my last stitch. Okay, so I have come down now to my last stitch in the row and I'm going to work it. Sometimes it's hard to see where the last stitch is, so I normally take out my hook, go back and count all of the stitches that I have worked, make sure I do have to work it, and then try my best to make it nice and straight at the edge. Okay, so that's your second row worked. So we're going to go and make a third row of treble crochets. And again, our turning chain is 2. So 1, 2. Then turn your work like the page of a book. And you're going to start off again. Okay, so you're going to yarn over your hook and into your first one. Yarn around your hook into the next one. Yarn around again. So the difference between the double crochet, which we worked the last time, and this treble crochet is you put your yarn around your hook when you are working the treble crochet. With the double crochet, you just go straight into your stitch. But with the treble crochet, it's yarn around your hook and then straight into the stitch. Okay, so if you want to continue on down to the end of the row. So again, I'm down at the end of the row, and just to turn this over so you can see, that's your last stitch there that I have to work. So yarn over your hook and in underneath the 2 loops of the stitch, pull through, yarn around your hook and pull through the first 2 loops, yarn around your hook and pull through the second 2 loops. So now we have worked 3 rows of our treble crochet, and you can see that it's keeping the sides are nice and straight and even. Okay, so that is your treble crochet stitch. Keep practicing and it'll become a lot easier to you. So this part of the video, I want to talk to you about the huge range of yarns that are available now to us. Years ago, you probably would have only been able to have bought wool, which was probably expensive. But nowadays you can buy anything. So I'm just going to start off with your basic acrylic yarn. On the label you can see it's 100 grams. There's 100 grams of yarn and it's 100% acrylic. And over here it'll tell you what needle size. These are obviously knitting needles, but also the size that you would use for a crochet hook is the same as your knitting needles. It also gives you a tension square, and that's something else that I'll cover in a different video. Okay, so it then gives you the care instructions. Okay, so as you can see, acrylic is fine for throwing into the washing machine. Again, this is another type of acrylic that I have. It's slightly thicker than the last one, but it's still classed as a double knitting weight, and it's just the lovely colours that are in it. I've used this for a beanie at the moment and it's turned out lovely. There's a huge, you can get any colour under the sun in acrylic yarns. This is chunky, as you can see, it's quite thick. And on this, let's see, it says 6mm. Okay, 6mm. So you'd use a 6mm hook. Okay, and again, you can see that it's 100% acrylic. Then we have acrylic that's wound like cakes, and it's like an ombre effect yarn. It's a lot thicker. It's more like a Aran weight rather than a double knitting weight. Okay, so you could use a 5mm hook with this. And then we can go on to our natural fibres. So this is natural cotton, and again you can see there it's a double knitting weight. It's 100% cotton. There's 100 grams of it, and it's you would use 4mm hook with this. These are another type of cake. This is extremely fine. It's not woven or spun together. There's 3 different threads running all the way through. And I think it's so clever the way it's done. One thread would be cut and the next colour would be introduced. Then after a couple of meters, the other thread would be cut and the same colour would be introduced, and it just goes on like that. I use this for my shawls, and I have to say I love using it because the colours are just fantastic in it. And for this you would use, does it say on it? Yeah, it's a German yarn. Okay, so you can use from 3mm up to 6mm. I always use a 3.5. And this is my probably prize hank of yarn that I have in my collection. This is actually 60% wool, 20% silk, and 20% rami. Rami is actually a plant which belongs to the nettle family, which it's extremely unusual. But I wish you could feel it because it is just so soft. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Time will tell. I will probably just come across some pattern that would call for something like this. But it is something that I have wrapped up in tissue paper because they're silk and it was a bit on the expensive side. This is another unusual blend, or another unusual mix of a yarn. It's 80% cotton and 20% milk fibre. Now, I have never come across this before. I've never used it. I just came across this recently and I thought it was extremely interesting. Because we're buying everything online, I didn't know whether it'd be hard or soft or what way, but I have to say it's extremely soft. So I'd probably use it for some baby blanket or a baby cardigan or something like that. But I thought it was so unusual. I've never come across it before. And then this is t-shirt yarn. As you can see, it's strips of fabric that's cut and made into yarn. This one has a silver thread going through it. I haven't used it yet. This could be used for making baskets or making rugs for your floor, or something that's something that would need to be very durable. Okay, and for this you possibly would use a maybe 20mm hook. So for all of the yarns, it will always tell you what size hook to use. Okay, so I just thought I'd show you a few different types of yarns, particularly if you are a beginner crocheter. You may not realize how many different types of yarns there are out there. So when we can, get into a yarn shop and have a good look around and see the different the different types, the different ways they're wound. You have your little ball, you have your cake style, you have your hanks. So there's a huge range out there, and if you're like me, I love to have a good mosey in yarn shops. You never know what you might come across. Okay, everybody, many thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. And until next time, take care of yourselves and happy hooking.